o'clock. Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of January 5th, 2026. Please be advised a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chambers by the Northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silent meditation. Please remain standing if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The order of business of City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public addressing the council to identify themselves, the name of any organization represented by such person, and their address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Each speaker should state whether they are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Anyone wishing to speak on an item shall come forward after the clerk reads that item and the applicant has presented. After public comments, the applicant may make one short rebuttal. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date, nor planned for a future agenda. We ask that all speakers strive for civility and allow the business of council to proceed unimpeded. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business today for our City Council meeting of Monday, January 5th, 2026 is our Mayor's Award of Excellence.
Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairperson Carlson, and good afternoon and Happy New Year to all of you. It's really a pleasure to be back before you to present the Mayor's Award of Excellence for November of 2025 to two of our teammates at LTU, John Mora and Gerald Okra, who are concrete finishers. And John and Gerald were nominated by City of Lincoln Transportation Maintenance Coordinator Clayton Engelman, and they're receiving this award in the category of public health and safety for rendering aid to a community member experiencing a medical emergency. And those efforts began on the morning of August 5th last year as John and Gerald were completing work at a job site. And while they were at the site, they witnessed a young man who was walking his dog collapse in a nearby driveway. They rushed over to find him unresponsive and but breathing, and they leapt into action. They rolled the victim onto his side and were ensured his safety as they called 911. John and Gerald stayed with the teenager until emergency responders arrived, while a neighbor who knew him contacted his family. And ultimately, the good news is the young man made a full recovery and personally thanked the duo for their quick response and compassion in his time of need. John and Gerald's quick, compassionate response ensured the young man received that immediate medical attention that he needed, and that helped prevent possible permanent life-threatening injuries. In the nomination letter, Engelman notes that actions like these are, quote, a reminder that acts of kindness and readiness make Lincoln a strong community we can all be proud of. John and Gerald, your rapid action to protect the health and safety of a community member is something I'm deeply proud of. It's an honor to be able to present you both with this Mayor's Award of Excellence. So if you'll come up, I'll hand you your awards. Director Elliott, do you want to say a few words?
Perfect, thank you. It's exciting to be able to start the year off recognizing these two men because they exemplify the values that we hold dear to us at Lincoln Transportation and Utilities, because on that morning they didn't hesitate when they saw someone in need, and their quick action, their quick thinking, and their calm demeanor throughout made the difference between life and death in this situation. So beyond their technical skills and not all of their great work that they put in every day, John and Gerald on this day really showed what it means to serve this community, that we at LTU care in everything that we do. So on behalf of everyone at LTU, I want to congratulate both of you for your amazing work every day, but for your courageous actions on this particular day as well. We're exceptionally proud to have you part of our team, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for recognizing it's well-deserved. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Elliott.
Thank you.
John and Gerald, would either of you like to come forward? Would both of you like to come say a few words? Please.
I was just glad we were there to help, and thank you for the award.
I just want to say that every day I'm grateful to be a member of the city of Lincoln. I appreciate and value my employment with the city, and do my best to do what's best for the safety for the general public.
Tell them how many years you've been working for the city.
Be 30 years in July. Very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do either of you have family
Thank
members
you.
here today that you'd like to acknowledge, or anyone not here? Well, we thank your family as well for supporting you and your service to the city. It's very meaningful to clearly many people across our community.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you
Thank you.
both. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go take some photos.
All right, thank you. Right, we'll let the room clear out a second here. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay, next on our agenda is the consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and sections 3.
All right, do we have any staff reports on any of the consent agenda items? Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on any of the consent agenda items? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Okay, we can now vote on these items. Item 1A is approving the professional services agreement supplement number 3 for environmental services between the City of Lincoln and Felsberg Holt Nulevig for the A Street 6th to 17th Street project, introduced by Shob.
So moved. Second?
Second, Beckius, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Beckius,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1B is setting the hearing date of Monday, January 26, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. on the assessment of the cost incurred by the city for the assessment of the fees and penalties for demolitions on property located at 5435 Knox Street, and assesses and fees and penalties for neglected buildings on properties located at 2902 North 41st, 7300 Briarhurst Drive, 824 South 16th Street, 1425 South 16th Street, 1511 South 2nd Street, 1980 Park, 234 South 38th Street, 341 North 30th, 917 South 10th, 719 West Leon, 1745 D Street, 708 West Q Street, 2648 Everett, 3311 Onyx Court, 2310 South 59th Street, 1967 Harwood Street, and assesses of fees and penalties for property cleanup and boardings on properties located at 4218 North Park Boulevard and 3070 Vine Street, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Duden, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1C is approving the distribution of funds representing interest earnings on short-term investments of idle funds during the month of ended October 31st of 2025, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Beckius, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That concludes our consent agenda. We'll move on to section 3, which is our public hearing liquor resolutions. Item 3A and B, I'll call together. Application of Remy Restaurant Group LLC doing business as Chiba Hut Toasted Subs for a Class I liquor license located at 200 South 21st Street, and the related manager application of Andrea Ramaklis.
All right, is the applicant here? All right, go ahead and come forward. Welcome.
Thank you.
You could just first state your name and address.
Sure. Andrea Romocalis, 2620 South 78th Street, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68506.
All right, and can you tell us about your application?
Yeah, I've never done this before, so you'll have to excuse
You're
me.
fine.
We
You're
are
fine.
bringing Chiba Hut Toasted Subs to Nebraska. It is a chain that started out of Phoenix, Arizona, and is based out of Fort Collins, Colorado. It is fantastic food, and it's got a full bar included. It's
Great.
fun.
All right, looking forward to it. Council, any questions?
When do you open?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We were talking to, well, it depends on how soon we can get our plans approved for building permits, but, so we're hoping beginning of summer.
Okay. And where will you be located?
Our first location is at Telegraph, and we're actually we're trying to work on our second location right now, starting on getting that set up, so,
All right. Good luck.
yeah, thank you.
Council, any other questions? No? All right, appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
I'll call item 3C, manager application of Javier Lara for the Walmart Inc., doing business as Walmart 1943, located at 4700 North 27th Street.
All right. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
All right, just go ahead and state your name and address, and then tell us about the application.
Yeah, Javier Angel Lara, store manager, 1943 North 27th. My address is 7279th, what is that, Nebraska Parkway? Sorry, I'm from Colorado, new to the area.
Welcome to Lincoln.
Thank you, beautiful area. Looking forward to raising a home here, so,
Great.
a family home.
All right, and can you tell me about the application then? Is it just a change of management?
Yeah, just a change of
Okay.
management. I was located at the South 27th store, got promoted to the North 27th store, and so we're doing the change of management.
Great. Council, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now.
Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone coming forward, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 3A, B, and C.
Second.
Second by Washington. Discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. We'll move on to Section 4, Public Hearing Resolutions. I'll call item 4A, approving the interlocal agreement between the County of Lancaster and the City of Lincoln on behalf of the Police Department to lease a vehicle to be used by Community Corrections.
Welcome, Chief.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Michonne Morrow, Chief of Police. This lease agreement is an example of working towards positive solutions with our partners. It's a zero cost, essentially, lease that is taking one of our decommissioned cruisers and allowing the community corrections, the county, to be able to utilize that for transports, which then for us eliminates the need for our officers to have to respond and handle those transports for them.
Council, any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Is there any members of the public like to comment on this item? 4A, if so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
We can now vote on this item, approving the interlocal agreement between the County of Lancaster and the City of Lincoln on behalf of Police Department to lease a vehicle to be used by Community Corrections, introduced by Schob.
So moved. Second.
Second, Beckius. Discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Can move on to Section 5, our public hearing ordinances, second reading and related resolutions. I'll call item 5A. Item 5A is amending sections 10.02.254, 10.06.120, 10.32.280, 10.32.290, 10.34.010, 10.34.020, 10.34.030, 10.34.050, 10.34.060, 10.34.070, 10.34.090, 10.36.010, 10.36.040, 10.36.050, 10.36.060, 10.36.080, 10.36.100, and 14.29.030 of the Lincoln Municipal Code relating to parking enforcement by revising and designating parking enforcement area boundaries, by revising the fee schedules and to allow for the use of modernized payment platforms, by adding new sections of Chapter 10.32 to provide guidance for long-term loading zones, taxicab and transportation network company vehicle loading zones, and extended vehicle parking zones, and by amending the title of Chapter 10.34 parking meters to parking payment platforms.
Thank you. Dan Marvin, Urban Development Director, 555 South 10th Street. I describe this as the omnibus parking ordinance changes. It's kind of long overdue. It's been in the works. When I left in 2023, I thought we were going to have something rolling forward. It goes through a variety of different reviews, and I think that we had some additions, and then I'll get into the last addition that we had in the last 6 months that we put in. But I think we have a very comprehensive change to the ordinance, and try to go through explaining what those changes are. Try to keep it at 5 minutes, but there's a lot of different changes here, and I want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're doing here. First off, none of these kinds of changes don't go and are just concocted within urban development. We have an advisory board called the Parking Council Advisory Board. It's made up of a number of people who have businesses downtown, who work downtown, who live downtown, property owners that are downtown, state and university officials as well. So Jeff Mall is on that too, so let's try to understand changes in the parking, and do these changes that you have before you make things work better? And we've gone through that, and that body has reviewed this as well and have approved what is before you today. So first off, one of the changes that you see is, first better change is just a map rather than all the text of all the different roads. And in general, what we're doing in the downtown as far as parking enforcement would be the areas that we would describe as North Bottoms. There's a little extension down to H Street down there. But this expands the area where park and go enforcement can occur. And the main reason we did North Bottoms is to free up LPD police officers during football game day. So we'll be able to be out there and make sure that people are parking correctly and they're not clogging up the traffic and causing problems that way. We also identify in these maps some of the other areas, which would be Innovation Campus. There's some meters over there, multi-space type meters. A lot of people are not aware of the fact that we have parking surface lots that are outside the downtown. So we have a few. This is over on 27th and F Street. We manage, this would be up in University Place. We have 3 surface parking lots in University Place. So this is 48th Street, St. Paul. And by doing this, we're not asking the police to be going onto these lots and doing the typical type of parking management that Park and Go is capable of doing. So we would also, and then this is a surface lot that is up in Havelock. So Tony's crew can go up there and make periodic checks to make sure that parking lot is secure and safe and people are parking the way they're supposed to be parking. So that's 10.02.254. The other changes that we have changes to the parking meter fine. Or this would be if you overstay your welcome at a parking meter, typically you can get a parking ticket. What we're doing is we're taking that parking ticket cost from $10 to $15, and the additional $5 is a fee to help cover the cost of administering the ticket operations. We're keeping handicap parking at $100. It's been that way forever. But for most parking citations, the fee would go from $10 to $15. There's a little more nuance in there because there's some additional fees in there that are related to passport parking that we think we can get those to go away. But at the moment, we'll take it from 10 to 15, and then there'd still be some passport fees that are associated with that. But we're trying to do a software upgrade, do all that in-house, and we think we'll be able to save people long-term that cost as well. In order to do that, to charge a fee, you have to be able to do an analysis to see if your revenue is being covered by the expense. And so what we've, Scott Verbko over at Park and Go has done the analysis of that, and what we do when we go through this, we see that we bring in expenditures of just under $2 million. We have revenue from fines that are paid for parking violations of about $1.3 million. So the delta on that is about $700,000. With the $5 increase in there, we will reduce that to where there will still be a cost of operation. We can't balance this to the penny, but we think we can get closer to our cost of providing this service, down to about a $275,000 cost. This fee has not changed since 2001, so the increase from $10 to $15 has basically been what's been in place since about 2001. We also kind of like to go around and look at what is the benchmark or what other communities are charging. So we're at $10. Presently, we'd go to $15. Omaha has a variety of different meter fine charges, but if you go to Madison, Wisconsin, they're at $25. St. Paul, Minnesota, these are first, second, and third violations. It's often that you might get a waiver on the first one or a warning. Second ones, it's more. Third one, it's not uncommon for us to give waivers on a lot of different things for first-time violation, but repeated costs or repeated uses of will result in some kind of fine. But in St. Paul, it goes up from $10 to $50 per ticket after you've repeated. In Des Moines, it's $20. Lexington, Kentucky's $25. Kansas City's $24.50. So it goes on. I think that we are within the range of what other communities around here by this increase from $10 to $15 is. We're also going to increase the loading zone citation, and we'll talk a little bit more about loading zones. We have new definitions for longer term loading zones, but the loading zone citation will go from $10 to $25. The reason we really have loading zones are there for a purpose, and if we keep the fine at the level that it is currently, we really are not discouraging people to find parking in a more suitable spot, and they'll occupy a loading zone, and a delivery truck won't be able to find a place to park. So we want to be able to create and discourage people from using loading zones for something other than a loading zone. So that fee goes from $10 to $25. There will be an elimination of the $1 deduction that we had for online payments. The reason for that is we live in a world now where people pay by credit card all the time. At the time that this was introduced, it was understood to kind of create an incentive for people to use that as opposed to writing a check or other means of payment. And now you go to a football game and it's a cashless transactions, using credit card transactions there. Pinnacle Bank, they do that. I think that the public has accepted the ability to go online and do that, and so we don't really feel like we need to incentivize people in that way anymore. So those are the basic elements up through the fees. Some of the more interesting things that have come about that I think are going to make the downtown a more thriving area is we're going to adopt more flexible use of our parking that's on the street. And it's a term called curb management, and it's to understand that the real estate that we have along the street is finite. The length of a block is 300 feet. The number of parking stalls that can fit into that length is limited. It's not going to get any more than it is right now. So how do we manage this so that we identify the different kinds of drivers that are coming into our downtown to be able to use that real estate for their purposes that optimizes their uses? So one would be to establish short-term loading zones and long-term loading zones. And a short-term loading zone we currently have, but it's to allow people 30 minutes to be able to park in an area. Generally, a loading zone has no cost associated with it, but it is maybe a downtown resident that lives downtown. They've gone to the grocery store. The loading zone is closer to them where they park. They want to be able to take their groceries up to where they live, get them into their apartment or their condo, and then they can go back to their car and put it to the location that's where they typically park their car. And that is an area that's continued to keep growing. I think if Todd were down here, he's going to say the goal of DLA is to have 40,000 downtown residents. That's a lot of people that have vehicles, but are vehicles that are maybe parked a long distance from their apartment, so they want to be able to get their stuff in. So we need to be able to have loading zones for that. We need loading zones for Uber Eats and taxi cabs, Uber and Lyft. We need zones where people can come in and pick up a pizza. Maybe they're delivering that pizza. Maybe that business does 30% of its business through sales online, delivered to somebody that either lives in the downtown or somewhere else. And I've personally gotten calls, Tony's gotten calls, where, that pizza shop would like to be able to not have their delivery staff park 3 or 4 blocks away and then have to carry the box of pizzas. Is there a way we can flexibly work together to identify a few spaces downtown where those types of stalls can be used so that people can zip in, get their food checked out, and then shipped along its way? The long-term changes that are in that section, we have a music district. We have an interest in trying to develop music in the downtown. If you're going to have live music, what's that mean? That means somebody's going to come there in a van. They're going to come there with maybe a van, and they're going to tow something behind it. It's going to have drums and musical equipment, amps. All that material needs a place to be parked. But it can't just be parked there for 15 minutes. So they're going to be there to unload, do their performance, and then load up after the concert is over. We've had conversations with the Bourbon. There's been conversations with other bars in the downtown area. And what we think that this will do will create an opportunity for us to be able to create loading zones for those vans to be able to come in, unload, and then be able to do a performance. And we're not discouraging people from doing those kinds of performances in the downtown. I always mention the taxi cab and the transportation. There's conversations in there about common carrier bus zones. That's just another term for StarTran. Extended vehicle parking. These would be, maybe we have a tour bus. Maybe we have a tour bus where the performers are spending a night at a hotel. And where's that tour bus park? Because that's a long vehicle. It's not going to fit in some diagonal spot because it'll stick out too far. So how do we identify places where those buses can go and conveniently park and be able to provide a location for that. That currently exists over on 12th Street, opposite from the Cornhusker, but we think that there's opportunities to be able to do that in a few other locations as well that are maybe closer to some of the other hotels where the tour groups are going to be going, or it may be a tour bus with passengers on it that are staying at a hotel overnight before they move on. So we need to be flexible, and that's the idea behind this, is to create flexibility. We're not creating any additional real estate, but we want to be able to, with the real estate that we do have downtown, optimize it so that it is serving the needs of the people who are coming into the downtown. A few other little quirks here. Definition of a parking meter. Up in my office, I have a parking meter. It's plastic. I was going to bring it down here. But in the ordinance, a defined parking space is defined by a parking meter. And that's not the way of the future. I was just in Des Moines. All of those poles that the parking meter in Des Moines sat on have all been cut off, and they just have little numbers on either side of it. So we have to think about parking and how it's parking. If we put in a multi-space meter, there will not be a parking hood at every parking stall. Maybe they're going to go to a multi-space meter and plug it that way, or they're going to pull out their phone and they're going to use the parking app that will allow them to be able to park that way. So we can't define a parking space by a parking meter anymore. Another little update is gated. We've stricken the word gated to controlled, and that is as it relates to a parking garage. A parking garage typically is going to have cross arms that are going to come down and stop the car before you've paid your meter. Well, we have one parking garage where you can drive out, it looks at your license plate, it knows that you've parked in there, and it bills you accordingly. So the wave of the future, I think, as we're starting to think about the parking ordinance changes that we make, are maybe it's not going to be gates, maybe it'll just be something that's going to see your license plate, and you've consented to this, and then you would then be able to not have to go through crossing arms, not have to wait, and you speed up your exit time out of the parking garage. Last one, and then I'll stop and take questions. There is a change in the meter bag hooding charge from $10 to $15, and that has not been changed since 2009. Typically, a meter bag hood is supposed to recover within a 24-hour period what that parking meter might have generated in terms of revenue. So if we're going to bag meters, we're losing revenue because the bag's on there and says nobody can park there. So we're going to we're raising that amount from $10 to $15. And in 2009, it cost 50 cents an hour to park downtown. And today it's $1.50 an hour. So the cost for an hour of parking in the downtown has gone up, but we haven't raised the meter bag hooding fee since 2009. So we would ask that get raised from $10 to $15 as well. So let me stop there. A lot of information to digest, but thought we'd try to go through as much as we could.
Council, what questions do we have?
I have one question.
Councilwoman Schmidt.
Director Marvin, thank you so much. All of this makes sense. As I was looking at the maps at the beginning of the presentation, I did have a curiosity about College View. I know that there are meters along South 48th Street, and I wondered if they had already been picked up in an earlier iteration of the parking rules, or if they were going to be addressed later.
The parking meters that are over in College View.
Yeah. Or are they outside of your parking area?
I said to Tony, if I got stumped, I was going to ask him. That is outside of our area. That is outside of our area. Is that an area, we could, certainly in the week, we can discuss that.
Okay. All right. Well, I look forward to future conversations about, or not, about South 48.
Sure.
Councilman Shope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Marmon. Thank you, Tony. I do get lots of conversations with residents of our community about parking. And most of the time they say there is no parking in this town. I personally prefer Garage 4 in the Haymarket, the Gold Garage. I usually go there, and there seems to be quite a bit. But the changes you're making, my notes were about the loading zones for the Ubers, the Lyfts, and the food. I'm glad you're addressing those. But are there plans to educate the public on those? Most of the conversations I get is because someone didn't get to park right where they thought they should be parking, or someone's been parking there all day and paying the fee and not shuffling through. And then sometimes construction workers downtown are taking up all the parking. Do you have a plan in place to tell the public about these changes and possibly police these changes?
Well, Park and Go, I think, would be the arm that would be writing the citation.
And those are the wrong words. Policing is the wrong words, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure what.
I think you raise a good point. Public education is paramount. I know as part of Project O Street, we're going through O Street. That's when some of these changes will occur. And there is a huge education campaign in that regard. You can text on Project O Street for updates. And I think, I don't know how many people we've got subscribed, but I know it's in the thousands of people for that. So is there opportunity for us to be able to push out through text messages, those types of communications? I think that would be a good suggestion. And then just the other types of material that's coming out as Project O Street to identify where some of these other types of parking will occur. And, I've talked to the businesses downtown, and I think there's a trade-off here. And I think that sometimes when somebody sees a meter going away, then they feel like my store requires, patrons coming into my door and spending a couple hours with me if it's a restaurant, or spending an hour with me if they're shopping. And so when they see the meter going away, there's the thought that that's really a lost transaction that they can do. And everything that I've read and understand about curb management, that's not what we're trying to do. Our goal here is to try to figure out ways that we can use the same real estate that we have on the street in multiple ways to create that kind of turnover so that those kinds of transactions don't decrease, but they increase. And when they're static, when somebody has a 2-hour meter and they're parked there, or it's a loading zone and it's not well enforced and somebody's parked in that loading zone for long periods of time, then we are discouraging the ability for that kind of business activity to occur, and we don't want to do that. So that's kind of the interplay back and forth that we need. All of our parking garages are first hour free, so actually the cheapest place to park is going to be in a parking garage. It's not going to be on the street. And the more infrequent the speedier transactions is where we want people to be parking on the street for. And if you're going to be down there for a couple hours, it's $1.50 first hour free. It's $1.50 for people to be in a parking garage for an hour and 59 minutes. And so we think that's the better place for a lot of transactions to go, and we will, take what you say and we'll try to push that kind of information out. You can look at our website and see what we can do in that regard as well.
Council, other questions? Appreciate it. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
I'll go ahead and I'll read item 5B. Text Amendment 25011, request of the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Lincoln Municipal Code Section 27.06.070, Household Living Use Group Table to change certain permitted conditional uses allowed in the O2 zoning district to permitted uses by amending Section 27.62.040, Household Living Use Group to remove the O2 zoning district from permitted conditional uses allowed for dwellings, and by amending Section 27.72.030, Height and Lot Regulations, commercial zoning districts to reduce the minimum lot area required for dwellings in the B2 zoning district from 2,000 square feet to 1,000 square feet per unit.
Good afternoon, council members. David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Service Department, 555 South 10th Street. Appreciate some of your time today for this agenda item. I'd like to kind of give you a brief overview of what this proposal entails and what we're asking you to consider. And this proposal falls under the growing umbrella of us finding ways, at least through the zoning code, to try to open up more opportunities for housing opportunities in different zoning districts. And that is precisely what this is intending to do. And I'll just kind of explain what each of these items is. The proposed change for the B2 zoning district really is to effectively double the amount of allowed residential units in B2 zone properties. Today we have a limitation of 1 unit for every 2,000 square feet on the zone property. We're proposing that be decreased to 1 unit per every 1,000 feet. And so to put that in more day-to-day terms, so if you have a 4-acre parcel for a B2 zone property, today, under the current rules, there would only be allowed 87 dwelling units if somebody wanted to do a housing development on there. If we proceed with this proposed change, that would increase to 174. So obviously a much more, a bigger opportunity for a housing project. And the main reason for this is that in some ways we have some of these somewhat kind of older arbitrary limitations in our zoning code, and this is one of those that we've been thinking about for a while and we want to bring forward today for your proposal. We made a similar change in the B3 district recently as well. We appreciate your support for that. And so this is similar in that we're proposing to take away somewhat artificial limitation on that. And a lot of the thinking behind this is that we know that housing is a large issue and a large demand for our community and for every community today. And this is just one way to allow for more opportunity for a property owner in a business district, the B2 district in particular, to do a project that would make more sense and might cost out more effectively for them. So that's effectively what the first change is that's proposed. And then in the O2 district, this is something that we've been considering for some time now as well, but really allowing for ground floor residential in O2 to be by right instead of a conditional use, and really just allowing that ground floor residential. And so the O2 district is largely kind of along O Street in most cases, and it's meant to be a transitional use between a heavier commercial and the residential neighborhoods that are out there. And so we feel that housing in O2 should be allowed as much as possible if that's what the demand is for. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions, but really this is meant to kind of open the doors a little bit further for some of these districts to allow for housing, which is one of the bigger demands that we have for uses and growth in our community.
Council questions?
Thank you, Chair. No questions. I just wanted to commend Planning and Development Services for bringing these changes forward. Obviously, when we talk about Main Street corridor, like O Street, the ability to add housing units up and down an already trafficked corridor, I think really makes sense. And then increasing the availability for additional housing in other areas really makes sense as well. So just wanted to express my thanks to Planning and Development Services for bringing forward these changes. Thank you, Chair.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? Item 5B, if so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
I'll read item 5C, change of zone 25025, application of Elizabeth Perez, Dane and Chelsea Sackett to change the zoning designation from AG Agriculture to AGR Agriculture Residential on the property located at the northeast corner of Southwest 89th and Buckboard Drive and 8600 Buckboard Drive.
Have staff or applicant here?
I'll certainly step in. David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Services Department. This is a very straightforward proposed change of zone for a property that is within the 3-mile jurisdiction, but does require be a change of zone in action by the city. It's currently zone AG. The proposal is for AGR, and this is very consistent with the zoning pattern out there. There is AGR adjacent to this parcel, and the the future land use for the comprehensive plan shows AGR, low-density residential, in this area. Effectively, what this would allow for this property would be to subdivide it down to the 3-acre minimum if desired. That's not in front of us today, but this would allow for that to happen, and it is consistent with our comprehensive plan and consistent with the zoning pattern out there. I can answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions?
Thank you very much.
Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
I'll go ahead and I'll call item 5D and 5E together. Item 5D and E is text amendment 25014, request of the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Lincoln Municipal Code Section 27.62.080, Education and Instruction Use Group, and Section 27.63.070, Early Childhood Care Facilities, to allow early childhood care facilities more flexibility in the allowed occupancy, to reuse an existing building within residential neighborhoods, and to add provisions for the safety of early childhood care facilities in or near the I-1 Industrial Zoning District. And the related text 25014 requested the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Title III Design Standards for Zoning Regulations by amending Chapter 3.90 Design Standards for Early Childhood Care Facilities, Section 1, Parking Standards for Residential Districts by repealing paragraphs 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and renumbering paragraphs 1.4 to 1.1, 1.5 to 1.2, and 1.6 to 1.3 by amending Section 2, Center Layout and Design paragraphs 2.1 and 2.2 to increase the number of children from 13 to 20 by amending Section 3, Conversion Plans for Facilities by repealing paragraph 3.2, and by amending Section 4 to reflect changes made throughout.
David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Services Department, 555 South 10th Street. Appreciate your additional time on this important item. I'm very pleased to propose this to you today. This is a package, again, on the zoning side of the topic of trying to allow for more child care services in our community, as well as for making the process more streamlined and easier to get to an approval. We know very clearly that this is a very high demand, very important topic for us. And we want to do our part on the zoning side to make the ability to do this, to have these services provided a little bit easier and a little bit more of it to happen. And really to kind of highlight a couple things, the reason why it's proposed in the way it is that in the past several years, you all in your deciding on a lot of these child care facilities as they come forward for your approval for special permits, you have consistently, and we have recommended approval consistently of waivers of things like the parking requirement, as well as requiring some of the larger services to be on collector streets or arterial streets. When we see that pattern, that's when we know that the code is probably a little bit outdated or things have changed in the community. In this case, the demand for child care services has really ramped up, and we know that. So we want to do what we can do to make sure that we can provide for more of it and make the process a little bit less onerous on the provider. Our intention here is to save time and money for folks that want to open up businesses, both in their own homes as well as in other structures. So that's another part of this. There are some specific changes where allow for conditional approval so that the proposal for a child care service does not have to go to public hearing. That is a very big part of this, this is the time and money part of it. So if the conditions are met, then the operator or the proposed operator will be able to just move forward with any other building permits that would be needed. I do want to take the opportunity to explain that some of these proposed changes, well, not some, but these proposed changes don't really change any state regulations. Just want to be clear on that, because some of those things are still in place that really, we're not proposing relaxing the state level. That's something that's out of our jurisdiction, but we're trying to do what we can at the local level to allow for these to happen more easily and more cost effectively. And then a point on the industrial I-1 part of this. This is kind of an outgrowth of working with our partners at TMCO as far as like kind of coming up with some unique ways of trying to provide childcare services for employers. And what this does is it kind of just explains what would be needed and how it would be, as long as it's accessory to the business, that type of a childcare facility and operation could occur that way. So again, being clear about that, but also trying to be part of the solution there. So with that, I'll stop and see if there's any questions, and I think we might have some folks here that might want to comment on this.
Council, what questions do we have?
I don't have any questions.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much.
Are there members of the public who'd like to comment on item 5D and 5E? If so, please come forward now. Welcome.
Hello. I'm Ann Brandt, Executive Director of Lincoln Littles, located at 215 Centennial Mall South, Suite 512. Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here in strong support of the proposed child care zoning changes. Lincoln families, as you know, I know we've had discussions with all of you, are facing a real child care shortage. High costs, long wait lists, and too few available slots, especially quality slots. This directly affects parents' ability to work and has a real impact on our local economy. The zoning updates before you today are a practical way to help address this challenge. We appreciate the city's continued support of our early childhood initiatives. This proposal builds on that strong foundation and reflects a commitment to working families and the community's future. In addition to the changes for child care centers, I want to highlight the importance of the proposed updates for family home providers, including reduced parking barriers and providing greater flexibility to operate under a family home license. Family home providers are a critical part of our child care system. They often are serving infants and toddlers, offer flexible care options, and are embedded in the neighborhoods where families live. By reducing outdated barriers such as steep parking requirements and restrictions on where childcare can be located, our community can better use existing space and support more childcare options close to home. These changes are not about lowering standards, of course, but are about removing obstacles that don't serve families or children. I urge you to move these zoning changes forward and continue Lincoln's leadership in supporting families, child care providers, businesses, and our community. Thank you. Any questions?
No. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this? Item 5D and 5E. If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
I will call item 5F, change of zone 21020D, application of NeighborWorks Lincoln to amend the south of downtown plan unit development to reduce the lot area standards for two-family dwellings from 3,000 square feet to 1,740 square feet per lot and reduce lot width from 25 feet to 17 feet per lot on property generally located between A and H Streets and 10th and 17th Streets.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. So my name is Dylan Merman. I'm with NeighborWorks Lincoln, 2530 Q Street, here in support of the change of zone 21020D. So the South of Downtown Community Development Organization has recently purchased the property 828 South 12th Street. The building previously operated as an unpermitted duplex, but has since been long vacant and has fallen into disrepair. Our intention is to bring back 828 South 12th up to code with the overarching goal of bringing needed reinvestment into the neighborhood and expanding affordable housing opportunities in the area. Following renovation, we plan to rent the units at rates affordable to residents at or below 60% area median income. However, this is not feasible given the current non-standard nature of the lot and the current minimum lot area and lot width requirements. Newer zoning codes implemented over older historic neighborhoods have trapped subdivided lots in amber, preventing reinvestment into the neighborhood. This is one of the core reasons behind the South of Downtown PUD, as it was created originally with one of its express goals being to encourage affordable single and two-family residential infill and redevelopment by simplifying and easing current zoning regulations for non-standard residential lot. Our proposed amendment would help the PUD better realize its stated goals and provide needed flexibility for properties which have found themselves in a precarious position of subdivision. Our proposed changes would not only help 828 South 12th, but also open the door for several other existing properties to receive the reinvestment that they need. According to Lincoln's Affordable Housing Coordinated Action Plan, the city needs to add an additional 17,000 units within the next decade to keep up with projected demand. And we appreciate that the amendment strikes a good balance between modestly increasing allowable density while respecting the context of the existing neighborhood. And so Both the reuse of existing structures and encouraging infill redevelopment are stated goals within Lincoln's 2050 comprehensive plan. We are also hopeful that this amendment will help improve code compliance and allow for unpermitted duplexes to be brought up to standards that will keep Lincoln healthy and safe. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right. Council questions? Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming forward and bringing this proposal, Mr. Merman. I have a question. When you say unpermitted duplexes, were they permitted at one point and they just fell out of compliance because of the lot sizes?
So from my understanding, when we went to initially look at the records, it was only ever, it never was applied for a permit for a duplex, but it had been sub-metered and divided.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Beckius.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. Thank you again for coming down. Appreciate it. So can you give some sort of idea as to a philosophy that NeighborWorks may have going forward in terms of reducing width? Are we talking about making sure that we're putting combined units on individual lots so it's easier for sale? Are we talking about, can you we're changing the PUD, and obviously the PUD is there because we want special exceptions for designated for certain neighborhoods. But can you just give me an ideology as to how NeighborWorks intends to approach this work with a proposed reduced lot size?
Yeah, absolutely. So to begin with, these changes are really meant for, and it's expressly stated that it will be for lots already created. So it's one of these things that we don't want to come in and have new developers kind of do any sort of land accumulation. And so what we're trying to do is utilizing the existing fabric and structure, come in and be able to update. Typically, it would be probably single family and two family. It'd be probably focused more on the rental side of things. I think this specific change is for two family unit dwellings. So I think it's just given the fact that there are many lots that are just kind of trapped in these like post-it note sized developments within the south of downtown PUD, it's just able to bring more investment to existing structures. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that because I think NeighborWorks is uniquely suited to be able to utilize changes in this particular south of downtown PUD in ways that other developers maybe haven't to date. And so I think it's just important that the public get an understanding as to how NeighborWorks would plan on maybe utilizing these changes as well, because these changes, like every change that we put out, will change the neighborhood. That's not a bad thing. But just wanted to get a better understanding as to the ideology going forward.
Yeah, I'd say largely renovating and rehabbing existing structures to bring those up to date and then hopefully provide more affordable rental housing in the area.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Carlson.
Any other questions, council? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who'd like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Item 5F. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
I'll call item 5G, annexation 25004, correcting the legal description of the area to be annexed by repealing and replacing ordinance number 21799 as previously adopted.
I will step forward for this one as well. David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Services Department, 555 South 10th Street. This is literally a cleanup item. This is one annexation that you've already approved. It was discovered after the approval that the legal description itself needed to be updated. The physical footprint of the annexation doesn't change, it's just the legal description. So this is to make sure that the file is correct. And we're requesting your approval of that updated information.
Council, any questions? Straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public like to comment on 5G? Please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
That concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 6, ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. I'll call item 6A. amending Lincoln Municipal Code Section 2.62.020 definitions and Section 2.65.020 definitions to add back reference to federal regulation that was previously deleted by amending Section 2.76.010 purpose of rules to replace layoff with reduction in force, by amending Section 2.76.040 definitions to replace the definition for layoff with the definition for reduction in force, by amending Section 2.76.100 classification plan administration to replace layoff with reduction in force and to change human resources director references to director, by amending Section 2.76.145 compensation plan, merit pay plan, administration and requirements for advancement to rename the section compensation plan, merit pay plan, requirements for advancement, permanent pay increases for exceptional services, and to change human resources director reference to director, by amending Section 2.76150 compensation plan, merit pay plan, pay increases for exceptional service to rename the section compensation plan, merit pay plan, temporary pay increases for exceptional service, and to revise the conditions for temporary pay increases for exceptional service, by amending Section 2.76160 compensation plan and variable merit pay plan, W pay ranges to replace layoff with reduction in force and to change human resources director references to director, by amending Section 2.76.275 examinations, notification of examination results to rename the section examinations, notification of status and right to a review, and to update the candidate hiring appeal process, by amending Section 2.76280 discrimination to rename the section non-discrimination to replace layoff with reduction in force and to clarify the language and add protected classes for veterans status, military status, and pregnancy, by amending Section 2.76341 promotions to add the M class, by amending Section 2.76380 sick leave with pay to rearrange paragraphs, replace layoff with reduction in force, to clarify F and M classes shall earn sick leave for each full month of service, and to specify that the percentage of the accumulated sick leave for E, X, or W classifications will be paid in cash upon resignation, by amending Section 2.76385 bereavement leave to combine M class with E, X, and W class conditions for bereavement leave and updating the language to be consistent with the LMCEA labor negotiations, by amending Section 2.76400 unauthorized absences, job abandonment, leave without pay to add conditions for seniority and performance eligibility during unpaid leave, by repealing Section 2.76430 leaves of absence and length of service, by amending Section 2.76435 resignation to update the language to reflect the current practice, by amending Section 2.76460 demotion to replace layoff with reduction in force, by amending Section 2.76470 reduction in force, layoff to replace layoff with reduction in force, and to update the language to align with the HR policy bulletin, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Beckius, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 6B is amending pay schedule for employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range which prefixed by the letter C, by changing pay range for class 3140 police record supervisor from C26 to C28, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Washington, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 6C is amending the pay schedule for the employee group whose classifications are assigned to the pay range prefixed by the letter N, by deleting the classification for gatehouse attendant 1, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Washington, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Beckius?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 6D is authorizing the issuance of tax-supported lease rental revenue bonds for the Lincoln-Lancaster County Public Building Commission not to exceed $19,200,000, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Washington, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Beckius?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That concludes Section 6. Section 7 is resolutions. First readings are items 7A through 7K. Section 8 of our agenda is ordinances. First reading and related resolutions are items 8A through 8E. And Section 9 is our pending list, items 9A through 9C.
Chair Carlson, I would move adjournment.
Second.
Second by Duden. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Just the